Fall 2022, southern Iowa. A landowner walking his property notices something pale jutting from a creek bank. A mastodon bone, dense, unmistakable, roughly 13,600 years old. Mainstream science places humans in the interior Midwest no earlier than around 13,000 years ago. But Ice Age bones keep surfacing beneath Iowa's cornfields, and some may carry evidence of hands that aren't supposed to have been there yet. If people had altered an animal in this layer, the accepted timeline for the interior Midwest would have to move. Our baseline is the established Clovis horizon, spanning from 13,050 to 12,750 calibrated years ago. Looking at this soil, I have to separate three entirely distinct claims: animal presence, human presence, and actual, direct human modification. Simply finding a bone and a tool of similar age does not prove they ever interacted. We are left with two possibilities: an earlier human history or a highly convincing geological illusion. Which one was this? To find out, I have to look closely at the soil of southern and southeastern Iowa, and I must be entirely honest. There is no single verified cornfield find in Iowa that yields both Pleistocene megafauna and undisputed evidence of human butchery. Instead, I am relying on a composite reconstruction of real events. In the summer of 2010, landowner John G. Boggess and his sons were berry hunting near Oskaloosa in Mahaska County when they spotted a massive woolly mammoth femur protruding from an unnamed creek bed. Separately, in the fall of 2022, an unnamed landowner in Wayne County noticed a mastodon bone eroding out of another creek bank. These finds lie within the Des Moines lobe, where dark, mollisol-derived loam sits over glacial till, loess, and old meltwater channels, flat ground that has spent 12,000 years concealing the deep past. The physical inventory reads like a cold case file. In Wayne County, excavators recovered 20 bone fragments, including a partial skull, ribs, and a kneecap, belonging to a single American mastodon, Mammoth americanum. 60 miles away in Mahaska County, another 20 bones emerged: an intact femur, ribs, and 5 articulated cervical vertebrae representing multiple woolly mammoths, Mammothus primigenius. The bone preservation is excellent, though scarred by ancient weathering and carnivore tooth marks. But I have to be clear, neither Iowa site has yielded an undisputed stone tool or diagnostic cut mark. Any human connection here is purely hypothetical. When a heavy blade strikes massive bone in an Iowa creek bed, the future of that discovery hangs entirely on a split-second decision. A landowner can dig it up or quietly rebury it to avoid delay, or they can choose the harder path. In these reconstructions, the critical moment is stopping the machinery, covering the exposed clay, and calling in state researchers. I have to stop on that for a moment. Doing nothing is the first scientific act. Pausing work costs time and invites outside scrutiny, but leaving the bones undisturbed in the soil preserves the only context that actually matters. When John Dorschuk, director of the University of Iowa Office of the State Archaeologist, arrived in Wayne County, he assumed it was just another isolated find, a single stray bone, nothing more. But as his team began measuring sediment profiles, mapping the precise spatial orientation, and checking for modern agricultural disturbance, the procedural task shifted. I watched the question change from what these bones were to how they ended up here. We weren't just extracting fossils. We were reconstructively mapping a burial event. The clay gave way slowly. Layer by layer, the earth seemed to be unpeeling itself, exposing more than anyone anticipated. To challenge the established Clovis horizon, spanning from 13,050 to 12,750 years ago, archaeology demands an incredibly high bar of proof. A secure association requires three things: human tools, animal remains, and undisturbed stratigraphy, all locked in the exact same depositional event. In southern Iowa, we do not have a clear kill or butchery site like South Dakota's Lang-Ferguson. For a true breakthrough, we need an undisputed stone tool or a diagnostic cut mark physically embedded in a pristine Pleistocene layer. Finding bones that date to the same millennia as early humans is suggestive, but overlap is not contact. I needed to map the physical timeline, starting with the Wayne County mastodon. Radiocarbon analysis of its bone collagen returned an age of approximately 13,600 calibrated years before present. To reach that number, scientists followed a strict testing sequence: stratigraphic recording, collagen pretreatment, accelerator mass spectrometry measurement, and microscopy. But I found a gap. Publicly available reports do not identify the laboratory that produced this result. Meanwhile, the second Iowa assemblage from Mahaska County is classified as late Pleistocene, but lacks any consistent published radiocarbon series in the public record. This distinction matters. Collagen dating measures surviving carbon, and pre-treatment attempts to strip out younger contamination, but the process is not self-verifying. The result is only as transparent as the chain of custody behind it. Without that verified lab trail, the numbers are just claims. At this point, I wanted the evidence to be decisive. There is an undeniable appeal to a clean, single explanation, a moment where the soil, the bone, and the human hand align perfectly. It is easy to fall for that neat, tidy history. But the earth rarely leaves its secrets undisturbed. It was not the end. It was barely the beginning. As soon as the physical reality of the site faced the cold light of the laboratory, that simple story began to crack under the weight of some very serious, very quiet technical objections. This is where zooarchaeologist David Overstreet steps in. I do not see his skepticism as hostile. It is a necessary shield for the science. His role is to systematically test whether natural forces can mimic human work. Overstreet asks a hard question. What if this field assembled the story long after the Ice Age? He points to the heavy machinery. Subsurface plowing and tile drainage installations slice through the clay, dragging older bones into younger sediments and destroying original associations. A stone tool lying near a mastodon rib might just be a modern coincidence. Then there are the marks. Mechanical abrasion, soil transport, and steel plow blades easily create linear scratches. A V-shaped groove is not automatically a butcher mark. Without microscopic cross-sections, internal striations, and secure, uncontaminated radiocarbon samples free of humic acid. We are just looking at friction. To answer these objections, I look to a sequence of controlled scientific checks. First, we wash the bones in warm water without detergent to preserve surface microfeatures. Then, high-resolution microscopy compares the marks against experimentally abraded bones. True butchery leaves clean, V-shaped incisions with parallel internal striations. Plow scrapes leave ragged, flat-bottomed gouges. Next, geologists analyze soil-thin sections to look for agricultural mixing. When enough collagen remains, we send duplicate samples to an independent accelerator mass spectrometry facility, verifying the age of the bones without relying on a single run. To ensure objectivity, we hand the records to outside researchers at the Senckenberg Center and the University of Vienna, who review the data independently. But I must be clear, these tests only check the data. They do not guarantee human involvement. Optically stimulated luminescence can date undisturbed sediments at controlled comparison sites in Wisconsin or South Dakota, but it cannot fix a jumbled Iowa creek bed. We can weaken some of the skeptics' arguments, but no laboratory test can restore context that was never recorded. State archaeologist John Dorshak drew a hard line at the edge of the evidence regarding the Wayne County find. While the mastodon dates to a time when people were in Iowa, we have no direct evidence that they interacted with this individual. This refusal to claim a prehistoric slaughter is not a scientific defeat. It is a deliberate choice to let truth outlast hype. That restraint matters. Without it, a date becomes a story it cannot carry. To find actual proof of Ice Age contact, we must look to neighboring states. In Kenosha County, Wisconsin, modern agriculture did what Iowa's fields have yet to replicate. During drainage-tile work on the Schaefer farm, heavy machinery exposed a woolly mammoth skeleton. Unlike the Iowa finds, this site yielded two distinct chert blades found within half a meter of the bones, alongside V-shaped surface cuts that researchers identified under microscopes as stone tool butchery. Accelerator mass spectrometry dating of purified bone collagen yielded results between 14,500 and 13,500 calibrated years before present, a pre-Clovis time frame. It is a compelling comparative case. It proves that humans and mammoths occupied the late Pleistocene Midwest simultaneously, interacting before the conventional Clovis horizon. Yet, I have to accept a strict scientific boundary. Wisconsin's evidence cannot prove what happened in Wayne or Mahaska County. The regional possibility was real. The Iowa connection was still missing. Today, massive tractors roll over Iowa's flat horizons, oblivious to the deep time secrets sleeping just beneath the plow. We are walking on an unread archive. What do you think is still waiting to be found? Let me know below.